Today, this is the September 20th meeting of
Recording
the Parks Department. First item on the agenda is public input. So at this time, members of the public can take up to 2 minutes to step to the front and comment. Yes, sir. Please, for the record, state your name and address.
Stu Vogel. I'm currently living in that other town called Sherrville. All right, my son and I are here. Notice we put this together. We're here in memory of Ed Becker. I wasn't sure who else would show up, but short notice. I've already met with Mark in the park office on 2 occasions. He's been extremely helpful and more than familiar. He's more than familiar with the work of Ed Becker. We're representing former players, board members, fellow coaches who in many cases would rather coach with Ed than against him. Ed poured years of dedication and tireless work to make our Little League, Babe Ruth League, Challenger, and softball programs the envy of the Calumet region and the state of Indiana. Ed coached teams that competed and won championships, not just in Northwest Indiana, but across the state, the Midwest, and all the way to Cooperstown. We are asking to place a plaque in his memory on the concession stand wall and underneath the press box. In his honor, we would like it mounted on the wall next to my former next door neighbor, Steve Burris. Steve, like Ed, served many hours for programs to enhance the beauty of Community Park. We will assume the cost. I've already contacted longtime board member Mike Cadavar. Mark gave me his phone number, and we don't want anything better than what Steve has. We would just, this is Steve's plaque that's currently there. And we would just like to have something in accordance. I measured it, it's 18 by 18 inches. And like I said, we will assume the cost. The players already have contacted my son, a number of them, and I know a lot of the other guys. And it's all, that was my only request. I want to thank you for your time. We feel this is something that all of us in the Munster community can do to salute Judy, Buddy, Benny, and Emily, and the Becker family.
Just for the record, Ed was probably my best friend. And we played golf 4 or 5 times every week, including the day before he died. So I'm in his favor.
Yeah, we're sorry for your loss. And Mark, I assume that you are going to coordinate that.
I didn't think you'd have a problem with this. We were gonna kind of match it on the wall and keep it consistent with the other honor that's already out there. And I think that really all we're looking for is, hey, I'm imagining no one has a problem with this. So with that, no.
As being a former Babe Ruth board member, and I had to serve with Ed, and then I coached, and Ed critiqued my coaching from the press box. I think that was already in play. We appreciate the offer. But I can tell you, I think the Munster Babe Ruth was already going to do just that.
See,
It's so early, it's fresh, and it's fresh for a lot of people here. So I think that's there, but I think if you talk to Mike or Michael, I think that's what they're gonna do. But either way, we'll figure out a way.
If we could, Mark, if you could just coordinate, make sure you reach out to the Munster Babe Ruth team. We don't want to have multiple things going on at the same time.
I'll give
Just
you,
for
I'll
consistency.
give
if
you
you could-
contact for the current president.
I have his,
All right.
so I'll put him in touch with him as well and make sure that the efforts are, together to be able to honor.
But I didn't want to coach against him. He gave me enough information from the press box.
It's only what's wrong with my swing.
Although he couldn't fix his own.
Yeah, it happens.
Better, but
Thank you for your time. Is there anyone else here from the public? There is still, the floor is open for 2 minutes. All right. Public input is now closed. We're going to move on to administrative matters. And the first item on the agenda is the minutes from last meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion to approve the minutes from last meeting.
second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to the paying the bills, vouchers. Are there any issues or questions regarding vouchers?
I didn't see anything.
I didn't either. We make a motion to approve the vouchers as presented.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Moving on, we have the Mark ready for the board report.
Yes. Okay, just to highlight a few things through this, I want to give you an update. Centennial Park parking continues. We're upwards of 3,600 households that are registered Munster households. And it's approaching 6,000 vehicles total in our system for the parking. We continue to finalize some of the other details of the system, but everything else seems to be going pretty well. This particular last weekend was our pretty busy day out there. The Barton Park event was there and brought in almost $900 that day in parking fees. So just on comparison, most other days are usually in the $300 to $500 range. So
Is there a grace period if someone screws up and they went golfing and they didn't get stamped or anything? I'm just asking. It's not me.
there's 15 minutes initially when you pull in.
I'm talking like a day or two.
If it's a day or two, I would suggest going on to their website and putting it and making a payment.
Uh-huh.
And then at that point, if you do get a ticket, you can dispute it and say, listen, I went the next day and paid it. You know, I paid it online. So that's what I would suggest. I've had one or two people, maybe as one spouse goes and the other spouse says, you went to the park, wait, you need to pay. And I've told them that same.
Sounds like my house.
So, yeah.
Just for clarity, Mark, you said it was $900. Is that strictly metered parking fees, or is that the combination of the event fees? And
Just strictly parking fees through the meters, yes. Park connectivity, we've mentioned this a few times. We've had, but in the last month, actually earlier this week, our dog park hasn't been connected for just about a month. We were down and we couldn't update it. We couldn't, if someone's their membership expired, we couldn't re-update them. Finally got that back working together, both with work from Impact as our IT consultant, and then this Heritage Technology System, which is who handles all of our fobs and that system that is out there that connects to the gate. So that's up and running. We are still having connectivity issues out at Community Park right now in all of our bathrooms, and we're working on that, trying to get that rectified. We replaced some antennas and some other hardware out there, but eventually that goal of connecting hardline fiber is definitely our best.
Where's the nearest line at? Running to the community
The
hospital?
fiber line that runs on the west side of Calumet, north and south along Calumet. So we come in along, across the street from the Weiss Center, would be the nearest, quasi box. That's where they would tap and run into the park. And then from there, probably put another quasi box just behind that, landscape kind of brick wall. And then we'd run down to the social center pool and to Triple Play Cafe with that plan. That's what we have that actually out for, there's an RFP out there right now with that out there, which is the next item on my list there. And hopefully I'll be bringing that to you for a potential award at next month's meeting. Financial support for Centennial Park Golf, as you can imagine, without the banquets, they're in a little bit of hurt there. The increases of costs for fuel, for fertilization, employee wages all hit them, and their numbers are definitely down this year compared to last on the golf side of it. So we did just have a recent payment going out to them for operational support. Recreation side, the fall guide is currently available. There's copies that was mailed out to all the residents, and then there's copies here in town hall, as well as the digital copy on the town website. Fall soccer has started. We have another 418 kids, so those numbers are pretty consistent for that program. Our Penzi bike ride, we had a second annual event out there with 184 riders. That was the one that we do in partnership with Sherrville Parks. That went pretty well, other than that was the same day that there were some train issues in Dyer after a child got hit earlier that afternoon on the track. So luckily though, we did have a train come through because of that backup during the day. It came through during our ride, but in the end, everything went well with the ride. Going on to the park maintenance, we had 2 new Kubota front mowers that we previously approved finally arrived in the last couple of weeks. They also will have snow blower attachments and rotary brooms attachments for them as well. So that'll be machines that we use year round for us between snow removal and mowing in parks and so forth. Had an unexpected improvement out at Community Park, in the concessions of the Babe Ruth building, the air conditioning unit went out, so we replaced it with, it's actually an all-in-one air conditioner / heating unit. So that was replaced here recently and got that up and running.
How long don't run with the windows open?
That would be nice. It would be nice. So,
Story.
We had some, as we cut back the growth along the Pensy Trail in advance of the bike ride, that we found some weird lumps of asphalt from roots and things coming up. So those were something they were able to grind down ahead of that ride as well. Centennial Park, as we replaced the irrigation pump that was out there, had to have a large truck pull in through the park. There was a bunch of irrigation pipe that they drove over that we had to get replaced. There was just no other way to get that truck to where it needed to go other than driving on the pipe, but that's something that we ended up having to go in and replace as kind of a follow-up to that work. As far as golf goes, Labor Day is coming on, so it's kind of the beginning of the end of the season here. League plays are basically wrapping up. We did have on September 10th an Under Armour junior golf tournament out there with 45 kids, so that was kind of neat that Caleb was able to secure and to bring up to our facility. And they'll begin golf memberships in October for 2023. Our year-to-date, our figures there, the public rounds has a dollar sign in front of that. That dollar sign was just a typo. It's 8,057 rounds so far this year. So that is down from last year. We were at around 8,500. Green fees of $145,000 year-to-date. We were at 162 at the same time last year. Driving range was significantly down. We're at 33,000 last year. At the same time, we were upwards of just under 65,000. And then our pro shop sales also down significantly last year. About the same time, we were at about 17,000. So pro shop sales definitely attributable to the size and the actual pro shop really not being as available as it has been in the past. The driving range, that was a matter of lack of golf balls, and that was supply chain issues. So we had an order out sitting on a boat for many years or for many months, and they finally actually were able to get other replacement golf balls from other places. So that definitely attributed to those kind of downturn numbers this particular year out there. September 11th was the day that we had a lot of rain. If you're a Bears fan, you were watching that game and watching the kids slide all over the field. We had 2.6 inches of rain that day. That was the same as the combined 42 days previous to that at the golf course. So just to get a comparison, almost 2 months of rain in one day. But overall, the course is looking good going into the fall from that perspective. So with that, that's it for the board report.
Is this report online?
It's as part of our agenda.
I'm gonna help everyone, you guys are all taking notes, don't take notes. Just go on the website and just pull up his report off of our website. Don't take notes, look, whatever. Just go on the website, you can get it from there, and that way you're not copying all the facts and figures, and you can write your report from there. Yeah, under meetings and agenda, go to parks.
I will show you.
It's right on the main page.
Look, well, watch what he does here.
I will show you if you look.
Watch this.
Okay.
If you're not quiet, I'm gonna make you take notes, though.
If you get to the meeting minutes, we're there right now, Board of Parks and Recreation, regular meeting, it's there. Here's our agenda.
Go back to the main page.
And once you're here, September board report, that takes you to the 5 pages of notes that I just read off of. So that's where you would find the PDF of all that.
Trying to help you guys out so you can watch the Sox game.
It never hurts to take notes.
I disagree. It's busy work, that's all that is. Here's what you need, get it all there.
Moving on, we have Mr. Spoon ready for the town council liaison report.
Yeah, this won't be on the agenda, so you have to listen to
It is
this
on
one.
the agenda.
But not on notes,
It's not really hybrid.
no notes.
You can cut this one.
Today is Tuesday, and I was expecting at one point it would be the second day of the trial in Crown Point, as we were suing the contractors who built our building at Centennial Park. The decision as to whether it would go to trial or whether we could settle outside had to be decided by Friday afternoon. Friday afternoon, council members sat here on the telephone. We didn't have final numbers. We telephoned back and forth, and by the time our meeting was over, we had settled. And if I can put it in 2 words, we won. KNS Engineering will be giving us $3,750,000 for its part in the project. Linden Group, $295,000, and Larson Danielson upped its offer during our Friday meeting and ended up with $1,450,000, which is let's see, I just had this.
Now if we can build another place for $5.5 million, we'll be in good shape.
Well, I added it up, but when the phone went to sleep between there and here. That doesn't mean we have the money. That means they have agreed to give it to us. And it should be coming, I don't know, it's up to the lawyers. And the judge and everybody else. But there has been a settlement. We won't go to trial. And wasn't as much money as we had asked for. But we were able to get Larson Danielson to up its amount as we were lowering ours. And to go to trial would have cost us another several $100,000 in lawyers' fees and court costs. And so to make that worth the time, we would have to have gotten a lot more money from them, which we didn't think was going to be possible. So I think we ended up with something very good. If we hadn't filed suit, we would have nothing.
How much is the
We
total-
still have lawyers' fees to pay out of all of that.
How much is the total recovery?
The total, I can give you in a second. I had it and it disappeared.
5.6.
Okay.
Mike, did you add it?
It's like 5.5, 5.6.
It's about 5.6 million dollars.
It's almost 5.6.
Rebuild it, right?
It's 5,000 less than 5.6 million.
It's about 20.
But as I say, we don't
Tear it down.
have all that right now, but we're expecting it.
What was 11?
It's still we're close.
Not 29.
Okay.
Just to give you guys background, the clubhouse at the Centennial Park, well, I have to because we just started into a case. The clubhouse was falling down, we had to sue the contractors, and that's what Councilman Schoon just reported. I feel like we need to help the teacher here.
Thank you.
But see?
Does that help?
It was.
Thank you.
The
Happy
building
to
is
This is
not
an update on
exactly
this
sliding down the
settlement.
hill to the lake. But the bottom of the north wall has been shoved out.
It's been sinking since the beginning of time.
And it was getting better. The damage seemed to have stopped. It wasn't getting any worse. So we continued to use the building for another 4 or 5 years. And then the building began to move again.
This is what I gave the council.
And faster. And the insurance company said that they wouldn't handle any complaints or claims that occurred in the building that was defective. And at that, we realized we had no insurance for the building. And we had to cancel all the reservations, including, I can say, a bridal shower that was to be held within the week of when we had to say no. But when our staff called the various, mainly brides and mothers of the brides and the like, they had already found other locations in Lake County that was available that night. So we refunded, of course, all the money and helped people find other locations to have their parties. But now we'll have to decide what to do next.
Now we just have to.
Thank you, Ken. Director's report.
Yes, I have, there was a town council study session last night that they had asked, they're going through all the department heads to bring to them and give a different report. Kind of things to be aware of financially in the future. So I'm going to kind of talk a little bit about trends. This isn't a regular report and this is not on the agenda. So this will only be verbally reported today, but I'm going to run through it. Just to give you an idea of what I shared with them last evening, so you're also aware of this as well. So these are kind of, initially I'm going to start kind of with more global or national trends in parks and recreation. And definitely society is living longer. I think that that's a given, and not only living longer, but they're more active at an older age. So I think this has caused a shift in to make pathways in our parks the most desired amenity for walking, running, biking. We're all here and get our 10,000 steps a day, our NFL Play 60, and various different campaigns that are out there that 20, 25 years ago, playgrounds would have been the number one things in parks. This is definitely now, as that age, I saw recent statistics where that the senior age will become a third of society versus it'll outnumber the youth of 19 and under type of population. So that's something that's definitely an impact for us in Parks and Recreation. The people are definitely looking out to get outside more since the pandemic. There's renewed interest in outdoor recreational opportunities, especially for individuals and small groups. We're focusing on smaller events, special events than week-long programs, while we still have some of them. But the newer interest is, it seems like everybody's multitasking, even for their recreational time. So that's something we're looking to, add more into and get into those individual one-day kind of pop-up special events almost to a certain level. Alcohol events, that's become more and more prevalent. Not necessarily maybe here in Munster, but again, nationally, many communities are starting to allow people to bring their own beer to events, movies in the parks, concerts, events like that. I think also the drinking of beer does not have a stigma as much as it once did maybe 20 years ago. To the point where even on highways, you have tourism dollars that are telling you there's a microbrewery at this next exit coming up. So I mean, you see the change in how some of that has happened. That also might be attributed to the more older and active adult population that's out there. So decrease of unsupervised play. What I would ask you is, as adults, how old were you when you were allowed to go to the park on your own versus what it is now, where a parent decides to say, you can go ahead, ride your bike, walk to the park on your own. It's definitely almost everything that kids are doing now is under a coach, a teacher, a parent. Very often there's not as much pickup games or unstructured plays in our parks as much as there was years ago. Competitive wages are an expectation. Raising wages this last year helped us with staffing, especially at our pool, but many other agencies didn't, and they really struggled. I think in the paper, if you read about Deep River Water Park or even Indiana Dunes, there was trouble, and they would reduce hours of operation. They would reduce the capacity or even offering lifeguards at the dunes, for instance, where at times they would just close down and not have it available for that, and that was cited as the major reason why was the lack of the competitive wages there. Larger events are starting to require more and more security. Many communities are increasing police and security presence at those events. The use of physical barriers like public works trucks or concrete barricades. If it's a street fest, to keep, protect that safety is definitely something that's out there after some incidents in the last year at parades. The use of metal detectors is even at popping up at some certain events when it's deemed necessary. Pickleball definitely is increasing. That interest is out there. We're looking at, internally, we're looking at making our tennis courts dual purpose with the potential to strike pickleball on the existing tennis courts. There's a slight height difference in the net height, but if the lines are there, I think for the recreational type of play in our system, I think that people would appreciate that at a minimal cost and to be most efficient with the dollars that we have. Use of artificial turf in parks across the board is increasing. You're seeing it at schools more and more, football fields. I know the high school just recently did their infield baseball infield there. You're starting to see that, and the need is there, or the want is there, especially when our facilities are playing to allow for quicker turnaround after rain and so forth. As we look into more Munster-specific kind of future, obviously the outcome of Centennial Park Clubhouse, which Ken just spoke a little bit about, the park board, town council will be getting together with a study session to begin what that next steps are there for those processes and what happens next out of that particular park. Improving technology connections to all of our park facilities. That's going to be something that I think grows over more and more time. It's going to become more and more reliant upon technology. The current bandwidth that we have out there through Wi-Fi connections is just not able to handle that bandwidth of data that we're trying to currently send through that particular system. Keeping up with aging infrastructure, and this includes not only facilities, our amenities, our public art in our parks, the equipment in our department, and technology as well. So repaving of pathways, parking lots, updating of replaced age facilities like our social center or a warming house storage building at Community Park. Our playgrounds, our fencing in our parks, that'll all continue over time. So definitely a challenge here locally for us to keep up with all those things. Preparing for staff turnover, there's a benefit to definitely keeping staff, but for newer, younger employees, the trend is get a couple years experience, build your resume and move on. So I wanted, try to be prepared for that. And hopefully if they do move on to more lucrative positions or burnout, what else can we do here locally to attract them, to entice them to stay longer, whether that's the ideas of potential of working from home, 4-day work weeks, additional holidays, what are those other incentives that if it can't just be strictly financially motivation, that maybe other things that can be considered for not only us in parks, but across the town as a whole for a lot of the public employees. I think the days of the employee being in with one agency for 30 plus years I would bet nobody in their 20s working for the town of Munster will be here 30 years from now. I'd be really surprised if that's the case. Shared artificial turf field. This is something that some of our local leagues have brought to us. Maybe 1 or 2 of these shared between football, Pop Warner, lacrosse, and soccer. That would definitely be something nice for us in the future to consider to add. That, of course, if we would make such an investment, we would want to light them, because if you're going to put that into it, most of those seasons are spring and fall are their heaviest seasons, and obviously we get darker earlier during the days. We'd want to have to maximize that investment, allow for that evening into the spring and fall season when it's darker earlier. The wear and tear on the grass and wet weather is just a challenge, and there's times where they will cancel games, but again, going back to football, they're supposed to play in all the weather. Same thing with soccer, you're supposed to be playing in all that weather as long as it's not dangerous with lightning and thunder over there. So, and then finally, Community Estate Subdivision Park. That there's going to be a new parcel of land coming on board there, Community Estate Subdivision, which we'll be looking to develop in the near future. This will actually, it's a small one, it's less than an acre. It'll actually be our 30th property as a park in town for us. So. But with that, I just wanted to kind of summarize what I shared with the town council last night, so you guys were also informed and receiving that same information. So,
Good deal, thank you. We just have 3 items for discussion. We are at the end of summer, so we are going to turn this over to Jill, right? To do our Munster Parks and Recreation Summer Camp Summary, and we can just head right into the full summary after that.
Sure. So we had 8 weeks of summer camp this year with 665 campers and 17 staff. We were able to increase our numbers up from 50 last year to 80 this year, so that was an added bonus. We still weren't 100% on taking field trips every single week, so we did them every other. On those odd weeks that we did not take a field trip off premises from Frank Hammond, we brought entertainment in, so that went really well. Other than that, there was dress up days, there was lunches brought in, there was food vendors that came in. So all in all, it went really well. We are hoping to be able to increase participants again next year, and we will be looking to do a field trip each week next year. And then there's some fun pictures on the back too, in case you'd like to see.
Is the non-resident number down? Is it usually higher?
Usually, yeah.
Did we change anything with fees?
They increased $10, I think. So, I mean, that kind of goes along with the pay increases for staff too, to cover that end.
I'm just curious.
but both resident and non-resident.
Yeah, both increased, and camp was full, I will say, probably about 90% full within the first 2 weeks that registration opened.
Yeah,
Or first 2 days, I should say, that registration opened.
usually there's just a more non-resident presence. But
Moving on to the pool report, I'm covering that for Abby. The pool was open for 11 weeks over the summer, open from Labor Day through August 7th. We had 60 pool employees, 8,000 guests in May and June, 6,600 in July, and almost 2,300 in August. I know that we're gonna be looking to do some improvements next year, so I'll let Mark cover that. But with the new managers that we had on site, that seemed to work out really well. We're hoping the two that were managers this previous year have already confirmed to come back next year, so we will just need to hire one more assistant manager.
Did we have enough people?
Barely.
Barely?
Yeah, we were still short probably about 10 guards, but we may do.
And Lollapalooza weekend is always a challenge because the age group of our staff likes to visit Lollapalooza that weekend.
Well, we pay them too much.
That's right.
thank you. Last item on the agenda is the capital improvements, the pool capital improvements.
Yes, we wanted to check kind of as a follow-up to what Jill talked about this year, and we always look to, continue to make additional improvements out of our facilities. And there's really three that we're seeking to do this coming year. One is to replace the original PA system and speakers that are out there. They don't all work. The speakers that especially are out there, some are dry rotted. If they do work, they become super loud. Some of them just don't. And one of the complaints is when announcements are made, not everybody in the facility can hear them. So that's definitely one that we want to be able to get in and replace here before next pool season. The second item is to replace the original hydrochloric liquid acid system. This is a system that we would replace it with a system that uses these pucks or pellets. If you go out there from the evaporation of that acid, the room that it's in and even things around it are just completely rusted through, and it's just not a safe environment. This is something the fire chief in the past, when we've had leaks there, they respond to as kind of a hazmat spill. So this is something that he's in favor of us doing as well. There won't be a lot of, it's about the same cost to run it, so there won't be much savings there, but it definitely will provide it with a safer solution than what we currently have out there. And then finally, there's a suggestion to replace the sand play area that's north of the existing concession patio with an expanded patio area. In your package, we have a drawing of one, the existing, and then the proposed to expand or show that concrete area. That sand area really, it just becomes a mud bath for us. And it's just kind of gross, and it becomes a litter collecting spot. It's tough to keep up. It's a labor intensive with the weeds. We also see this not only as a potential expansion of seating area for concessions, but also it'll give us some additional flexibility, because there's times when people will book, especially on the weekends, birthday parties, that they'll reserve the shelter in the park. We can also potentially fence this off or close it off, where that becomes maybe there could potentially be two simultaneous birthday parties going on. So that allows us to do some additional programming that way. So bringing this to you today to seek your approval of these as capital improvements in the coming year. These are items that I put in through the town's GO bond that should be closed by the end of the year. So hopefully if that, when that's closed, if pending your approval, we would be able to move forward on these and have this hopefully completed before pool season opens next spring.
Do we have a plan to connect the T1 line to this or no?
That would be part of the fiber, yes, that's that fiber.
So that's separate from this motion. You're already
Yes.
having that in the.
That one, I will bring that to you for awarding of that hopefully next month's meeting.
Wonderful. I'll make the motion to approve.
Wait,
Oh,
well,
sorry.
that's a ballpark on the cost.
We are, between all of these things, it'd be about $200,000 combined for everything.
And where's the money?
I live the next GO bond.
Stojic City got it.
I know who he is. Where is he?
He's working, he's lemonade stand right
Uh,
now.
Yeah, Mark, I know that the stand, at least the number 3, as long as I've been on the park board, I know that's come up in years, that trying to get rid of that stand pit. So that's definitely a yes from me. But I don't know that, we have a pretty large seating area to the southeast of that, don't we? That shelter area
I think what he's saying though is you can put a birthday party right in this location and corn it off, put wristbands on and say you can go to this little area. I mean, what else are you gonna do with the same?
I was just thinking of something else for the little kid, because a lot of the little kids go over there. Yeah.
They do, one of the other
I'll go
challenges is with the sand, I mean, we have that shower that's there that's meant to wash it off. Unfortunately, it always ends up in the pool.
Yeah.
The sand filters, as you look at the bottom of the pit that's out there for the mechanics, the sand, the amount of sand that's in there, we pull it
I
out.
would just leave it to you to present.
Yeah.
We had a motion.
I did.
I'll second it.
The moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Passed. That is all, folks.
Motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
Hurry up, take our picture, let's go. We have picture taking. Let's go.
Yeah.
I thought you
You guys have days, next couple of weeks that you stay away from, that we'll just have to
And I forgot.
Let me get in that picture. I want to get in that picture. Come on. He just really wants to.
Next activity is a follow-up to see how parking's going.
So I
So,
will tell you this.
I think so too. Go to the Zoom and hit any.
I agree with you. I agree that it has impact on the driver.
So it's.
Just click on that.
I think it is.
I want to get in somebody's picture. Let's go.
You want to get one?
Yeah, let's get one, man.